People at PAX East went crazy for this Ahri promo, and you could only get it by playing Riftbound with us. We are Response on Play, and we're here with friend of the channel, Brodenkainen, and we just spent the last 4 days demoing Riftbound to hundreds of players at PAX East. I'm Steph, and I'm bad at Riftbound.
I'm James, and I play Riftbound sometimes.
I'm Brodenkainen, or Brody, and I love teaching Riftbound.
Well, we had a great time at PAX East playing Riftbound all 4 days. For 10 hours a day. Surprisingly not tired of the game yet. I actually like it more now after the demoing experience, but I wanted to see how everybody else liked it and what everybody else thought of our experience, because it was quite a lot of demoing. So first, my biggest surprise demoing 2 people was honestly just how many people were interested in playing the game. Now, I knew that there would be a lot of interest because there was a promo, but there was a lot of people who genuinely just wanted to play. And honestly, there were a lot of people who were like repeat customers who came back, not just to get a promo because they can only get it once, but to just keep playing it throughout the day. So James, what was your biggest surprise of demoing Riftbound at PAX East?
For me, yeah, I mean, I think that kind of was it for me, because so I had a unique experience where I got to do both the sealed side of the event and then also the demo experience side. And it was very interesting because we had people that would, come for sealed and they'd ask about demos and be like, well, to do the demos, you got to go to the other area. And then they would come back and they'd do sealed. And then we did that. And the next day there were the same people coming in for sealed again. So it wasn't just like they were coming, getting their product and leaving. They were like enjoying playing the game because they would stay for all of the rounds. And so it was very cool to see people that were really invested in the game and really wanting to like play as much as possible that they could in the weekend.
What about you, Brody?
Yeah, so this wasn't my first time teaching Riftbound at event. I've got to demo it at Unplugged and Gen Con prior to this, but I'm really surprised every time by just like the wide range of people who actually come out and want to do these learn to plays. So you have people who are already experienced TCG players, you have people who are just like massive Riot or League of Legends fans, and you have some people who just have no idea about any of it and just still want to try the game. And like 90 to 95% of the people usually during these demos end up being just like overwhelmed by the experience and like want to play more and want to get more. So it's really cool to end, each day feeling like satisfied and getting more people to actually want to play the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I demoed to a single person who was like not happy to be there, because obviously you have to sign up for it. But like there were people there that we demoed to that like you could tell that like their friend or their partner brought them to maybe get a promo for them, but also just to play it and like.
Right.
But none of them had a bad time. From when I was teaching them, they didn't know what they were doing, and that's okay because that's what we're there for. We're there to teach them. So like by the end of it, when they started picking it up around like usually by like turn 2 or 3, they were playing on their own and not just like waiting for me to play them. Like they were having fun. So it was like people who came into it saying, I've never played any card games in my life, ended up having fun, and I loved seeing that.
Exactly, especially with like the 4-player game specifically too. Like 1v1s are obviously fun when it's everybody at the table like interacting with each other, and you have like a close group of 4 friends, or you have just like 2 people on each side who know each other and then interacting with the other 2. They usually end up just like a commander game, just like throwing shots at each other and just having fun throughout the whole thing. So it's really cool. And then some people end up like wanting to come back together the next day, which I've had that happen a couple of times this weekend, where the same 2 groups of 2 came back and played again.
Yeah,
that was awesome. I had a group of like 4 Magic, like they played Magic, they knew Commander and everything like that. They played card games, and they came in and sat down, and they had, characters that they wanted to play. Like they sat down and they were like, oh no, I want Jinx. And they like, you're going to go play Volibear and stuff like that. And then they just sat down and they picked it up. Like I explained the basic rules, gave them like a turn of help. And then they just like were off to the races, and they were like messing with each other, like doing things during showdowns and like jabbing at each other and stuff like that. And it was fantastic. It was so fun to watch. And it was so funny because like at the end of it, we unfortunately, a lot of these, especially in the one or the free for all, we ended up not being able to completely finish the game within the hour length of the demo. And it was so funny because they were like, oh no, even if he doesn't win, we didn't get to finish the game. It didn't win. And it was hilarious. It was a fantastic
time. Nobody wins,
so,
everyone wins.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, no, it was great. And those are probably some of the most fun, because you just got to sit and watch this team or this like group of friends interact with one another, playing a game that you're excited to teach them. So that was awesome.
Yeah, I loved having, I loved teaching new players, but it was also uniquely fun to have people who play card games coming to play with us because they knew what they were doing and they picked it up very quickly. But also like in the free-for-all mode specifically, there was a time when somebody had like 6 points and they were about to conquer like all 3 battlefields to win. And then there was like a back and forth of like 4 or 5 different responses because these are like card gaming like veterans. So they were all saving their runes to make sure they could respond, to make sure this guy couldn't win. And then it was like one person would respond and then that guy would respond back to like defy it. And then another person responded. And it was just like this huge back and forth. And it was so funny and so interactive. And I loved seeing that. And I think that kind of goes into the next thing that I was thinking about. And that was like what really hooked people, or when you noticed people really started like clicking with the game. Because for me, I noticed when new players especially were playing, when it clicked with them, like you could see it in their eyes that they were like, oh, that makes sense. Or there were moments where people would be like, oh, that's really cool. And when I noticed that the most was people playing Yasuo, because they would play, I would start the demo saying, this is your legend. Your deck is built around this legend. Read the abilities on your legend and make sure you use it often. And so the Yasuo players, they'd go like 1 round, they'd go 2 rounds, and they'd like drop their guy. Usually they'd put Yasuo, like the champion, in, and then be like, I could see them look down at their legend and then look at me and go, excuse me, does this mean that I can move? And I would say, yep. And they would say,
the amount of time it's like, am I reading this correctly? I'm like, yes, you are.
Yes.
You sure are.
They're like, I can move an exhausted unit to start a showdown. And I was like, yep. And so that was like big moment. It was like specifically with the Yasuo character with me that people would be like, oh, that's really cool. And then you could see it just like expanding in their brain. They were just like whole new world. But like, what about for you guys? What did you notice?
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of like exactly the same for me. The Yasuo specifically, especially with Kayn, when they could be like, oh, Kayn's ready. I can Yasuo him up and then gank with him or something like that. And then it's just like, oh, the thing, like it's funny how crazy the Yasuo brain expansion becomes as you like play the first few games or first few turns of the game. Another one for me is kind of Jinx, especially super early. If you get the Jinx opening hand where you're like Chemtech Enforcer, discard the flame chompers, play flame chompers, and you kind of explain that to them and they kind of see that line and start understanding how the deck's supposed to play. That's also just like super cool.
Yeah, it's like once everyone starts to figure out the synergies of their deck, like, oh, when I do discard stuff with Jinx, a bunch of this stuff happens. Oh, when I have all these units and I do all this movement with Yasuo, this stuff happens. Oh, I'm full runed out with Volibear. I can play how many big units and cast how many crazy spells? Like my goal for every demo was to get one person to at least have like their pop off moment. Like I want Victor to have like 5 or 6 recruits out with a Victor and then cast Grand Stratagem and say, I have 50 might on board. What do? I want Jinx to have like the moment of playing Vi with 15 cards in their trash. And they say, how many times I can do this? Getting everyone to have that cool moment of like, oh, this is what my deck does, and give them that potential to do it versus sitting there for like 3 turns. Like for Volibear, for example, it says I haven't drawn a card. Like if they don't have a play on turn 1, I just hand them a challenge, or not a challenge. I hand them a mobilize or something. Just say, hey, your deck's a ramp deck. This is what it's supposed to do. Versus them not playing, because it's a learn to play experience, right? I want people to learn to play and have a good time.
Yeah, that absolutely was very important to me.
Right.
I was like, every Volibear, I was like, you're going last. Here's a mobilize. Otherwise, you're going to sit here for an hour and do nothing.
Right. And it wasn't like a huge advantage because most of the time, even when you do that, the Volibear isn't like guaranteed to come out on top. Like they still need to actually draw the good cards and get like a good cadence of units, because for some reason there is Cull the Week in the Victor deck.
Yep. That was the main reason. I don't think I tried so hard. I don't think I had a Volibear even get close to winning, because it would be like 1 unit Cull the Week, 1 unit Harness Dragon, and it's just like
every time I see the Victor draw, I'm like, that card is rude, or unchecked power, or like the dragon that kills the unit. There was just
dude, I had a volley that was
spot
like
removal.
I know, I had a volley that had like 2 of the battlefields like fully conquered. They had like 12 might on each of them, and they were just like, unchecked power.
Yep. Whoops.
Like, yeah, I guess. Good. Sorry, volley.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that is rough. I did notice in my games, Victor tended to win. The people on Victor, whether it was brand new players or like veterans, Victor won. And I think that's just because he just makes units, right? And it was like people would duke it out and then he'd be like, token here, token here, token here, I win.
Yep.
His deck just has like the best spread of cards for that whole scenario, where it can go wide, it can maintain those wide units, it can buff them, and then it can also set your opponents back like immensely.
Yeah. So we mentioned pop-off moments. I did have a few moments where people got frustrated with the decks that we were using. I will say that the trial decks were really good. It was not quite a starter deck, not quite a pre-con. I think it was somewhere in the middle. You know, like it had seals, which questionable. I don't know if it should have had seals. I'll get into that in a second. But it also had like Dead Bloom Predator, right? And like Volibear. Really funny.
Yep.
Really funny. I had a moment where a guy was like, am I reading this right? And I was like, yes, you are. That's why that card's expensive. And then he was like, this card? And I was like, not this card. This card says sample. This one's not expensive. But what's something that you would change about either the trial decks or the demoing experience? Because I think for me, I don't know that I would have put seals in the decks just because people really struggled with the concept of it was a lot of information all at once, and we're trying to get people, oftentimes who are brand new, into the game and learning it. And I think they were struggling with the concept of recycling runes because that's a little bit different, right? And then to add on to it, it was like, here's a seal that you just tap to pay for a recycle. Like there were a few people who really stumbled over that for me. And I think if it were up to me, I would probably just take seal out. But what about you guys? Were there places, do you notice people stumbling a lot, or like what would you change about the demo experience?
So yeah, I think I agree with you on seals for sure. I think I should take the seals out. I think those are just a little bit of an extra step that's unnecessary to learn the game. You don't need to know what seals are to learn the game. I think once you learn recycling, you just deal with it that way. I do think it makes the decks more powerful, but it also makes the gameplay more confusing. And it also adds an extra layer of, okay, now I have to stop the game to explain this seal rather than being able to continue the game at a normal flow. I think for me, I would also take out Volibear. I think I would just run like a Lee Sin deck or something like that instead, just because Lee Sin has more earlier interaction and can buff his things, and just like has a more on cadence play style compared to Volibear. It just feels like I feel like a Lee Sin player would have more actions and do more things throughout the game compared to what we would see with Volibear.
That's fair. Yeah, I think like the Jinx, Victor, and Yasuo have like this early play style, like this cadence of getting units out quick and getting like the board presence in these demos. And Volibear is stuck sitting there half the time. Like if, like we said, we're not giving them the cards to play with early on. So I do agree. I think we're probably just like taking Volibear and switching a new deck out, something more of like a buff deck, just explaining like another archetype of the game. Because like Ramp is an archetype, but it's usually centered around one card, and that's Dazzling Aurora. And you're not putting that in a demo deck. That's just crazy. What I do have a little bit of different opinion on seals. I do think those being in the decks are good, because one of my favorite things about the Riftbound demo decks is that they don't hold back. A lot of other games just simplify the heck out of their demo experiences. And I think when people get all of these different buttons and finally like they click and they're like, oh, like this is what I can do. These like light bulb moments really makes this demo experience specifically special, because you do get a lot of like almost 95% of the game is in these demo decks. Like they don't have, I think, buffing and stunning, I think, are like the two things that don't exist in the demo decks. And that's it. I might be wrong. There's probably some like small other things, but like it has hiding, it has seals, it has counter spells. Like it has all this cool tech that you can do in the game. Like the movement tech, like Ride the Wind and RIP Fight or Flight don't exist in the decks, but Yasuo can still do the movement. So I agree with changing out the Volibear to something else, but I do really enjoy how it doesn't hold back. You get the whole Riftbound experience just through these learn to plays for the most part.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it was a really good idea for them to not just throw out the starter decks, because like you said, it's not too simple so that it's boring. Like it hits a good balance of being very simple for new players, but also like if you have already played card games, you know what's going on, you know what to do, and you know how to pop off. And like James was saying, the new players got to pop off too, or I think you said it. Yes. Someone said that the players get to pop off, and that is really important, because one thing I noticed at the end of every demo I did, everybody walked away happy. Like not a single person was like, "That's boring." You know, like no one was bored at the end, and like that's partially attributed to us being amazing demoers. But of course, also the game is fun and it's very accessible for new players and even for people coming in, and they did a really good job with the trial decks. Yeah, I agree. And maybe toning some of the power down, like taking out the Call of the Weeks, maybe leaving like an unchecked power or two in the Victor deck. But overall, I think it's
they did a solid job with these. We learned to play decks.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of the negatives do come to just the fact that you come back to Volibear, because like Call of the Week doesn't feel so bad when you're playing more than one unit a turn. And so I think you can keep some of that if you just swap the demo experience a little bit.
Just a tiny bit, yeah.
Well, we just did 4 days of that. I don't know if you guys can tell our voices are a little shot. Talking 10 hours a day will do that to you. I think demoing is just a great way to get into the game, like I said. So if, you're someone who's new, you've never played Riftbound before, you want to get into it, maybe you saw us at PAX East and you were feeling a little shy about coming to the demo booth, or you just don't have someone to try the game with and really get into it, I'd really encourage you to try demoing it if you go to these big events, or even if like your local game store is doing demos. Sometimes they will do that. It's just a great way to jump into it and to learn. And I think everybody walked away from it knowing how to play the game. And I had a few people that were like, what deck should I build? Do you guys sell precons? So it's just it's a good way to get your hands on it. But my final question for you guys is, would you demo again? For me, resounding yes. I had a great time. What about you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a fantastic time. It was a lot more fun than I expected it to be, because like you're going to work an event and you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to go, see it because I'm going to be working, but it didn't matter. I had a fantastic time every moment that I was there.
Agreed. Yeah, I would love to learn to play. Agreed. Yeah, I would love to.
I would love to learn to play.
What are we talking about? What game is
love
this?
Riftbound. Love to play it someday.
One day I too will learn Riftbound.
Let me play Riftbound. Yeah, totally. I would love to be able to teach again. It's really cool, like going between all of these different cons and events. Like I've seen people who I taught before at the Houston regional. Like that was really cool. Like the people I taught at Gen Con and stuff like that. So it is a great way to like just meet people in the community as well. So hopefully we get to do it again.
But that's it for us. Thanks for listening to us yap. I'm going to show you this Ahri promo one more time. I know that's what you're here for. Look at that.
Ahri.
I bet you're jealous that you don't have it. Maybe you do have it. If you do have it, thanks for demoing with us or playing sealed with us, however you got it. If you just bought it, you know what? That's acceptable too. But I have been Steph, and this was also James. We are Response on Play. If you liked hearing us talk about silly things, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing a lot more Riftbound content. I have a fun announcement coming out about Riftbound creator type thingies. You can probably connect the dots, but if not, you'll want to stick around and find out. We have also been joined by the lovely Brodenkainen. He has an amazing Riftbound channel. He does unboxings. I'll let you talk about this.
Yeah, I'm Brodenkainen. I do a bunch of TCG stuff. I cover Riftbound and UVS's other game universes. I do a bunch of box openings. I do funny, stupid green screen videos. I do pre-Rift walkthroughs, a bunch of different stuff. So go and subscribe and follow, please.
Yeah, he's awesome. Go subscribe to him. His content's very funny and very high quality. But we loved having you here. We loved having you guys listen to us. Thanks for being here. And thanks for looking at my Ahri promo. I'll show you one more time. We'll see you guys next time.